Well, I'll tell you what, with all of these cold temperatures, one might find it very hard to believe that according to recent data from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, 2016 has been the hottest year in recorded history. And to shed some light on this and why this is happening, what we can do about it, we welcome into the studio Mark New, who's the Director of the African Climate and Development Initiative at UCT. Sir, thank you very much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me here.
So you were saying just now that since the thermometer was invented, this is the hottest year in recorded history. What is happening right now in 2016 differently from any other year?
So we've got two things happening. One is global warming, which is greenhouse gases in the atmosphere warming the atmosphere progressively over the last 100 years. So each year is getting a little bit warmer. But then one of the really important things is that a lot of that heat from the greenhouse gases goes into the ocean. 90% of the warming actually warms the ocean rather than the air. Okay. So then when you have an El Niño event, which is where the ocean circulation changes, some of that heat comes back into the atmosphere and you get a peak in temperature in that year when that El Niño is happening.
Like we're seeing over here in these pictures.
Exactly like that, yes.
So with global warming that you're talking about, is there something that we as people at home can do to effect proper change? I mean, we know that the big corporates and the companies out there are all a big contributing factor to these greenhouse gases and to global warming. Can we do anything about it?
Well, I think sometimes one feels quite helpless because you're just one individual and there's nothing you can do. But I think there are quite a few things you can do. One of them is at the big conference in Paris last year, the South African government committed to making big changes in South Africa's energy. But they've got a lot of policies they need to implement. So civil society can put pressure on the government to live up to its promises.
Yes.
Yeah. Another way is actually through pension funds. So, for instance, at the University of Cape Town, there's a big debate going on at the moment about whether the university should be actually removing its investment from some of the big fossil fuel companies like Shell, because then an investment fund can make a big difference. So us as individuals could be pushing our investment funds, our retirement funds, to make these kind of changes. Yeah. And then the final thing is sort of just things you can do yourself at home, which, for example, if everybody had a car that was uses half as much energy as it does now, that would basically solve 10% of the problem. Wow. So the choices we make in what we buy can make a big difference. So buy a Mini instead of a Land Cruiser, you'd make a big difference.
Clearly, that's your right of preference. Quickly tell me about the importance of climate change and development issues being merged on that same level of importance, climate change and development issues.
South Africa and many African countries have got a huge human development challenge. I mean, you know South Africa's got a big Gini index, there's a lot of inequality, very many poor people. Climate can really act to slow down development progress. So, for instance, the big El Niño at the moment that's causing this heating is causing huge hunger across a lot of southern Africa. So what we're trying to do is develop and research ways that will enable us to actually reduce those impacts of climate change and allow development to progress. So good development has to happen in the face of climate change. We've got to really sort out the climate change problems to enable development to happen.
Mark, thank you so much for joining us. I know that this is a topic we could carry on talking about for days, but Mark New from the African Climate and Development Initiative at UCT, shedding some light on what we can do to help our environment, help our world. After all, it is the only one that we have. Well, the only warming we really want is the one that happens here in the heart as we share some yellow love.